suburban neighborhood street in Vaughan surrounded in crime tape this morning as York police respond to a fatal quadruple shooting in the area. Good afternoon. One person is dead, 3 others injured following a shooting in Woodbridge.
Police say they believe it is a targeted and isolated incident. CTV's Janice Golding is in Vaughan this afternoon to bring us the very latest on what happened. Janice, what can you tell us?
Hi, Michelle. I can tell you when I got here, there were a ton of people that were milling around. High school students whose school had been placed in hold and secure, which was later lifted, trying to figure out what had happened, as well as area residents, some of whom saw police, heard what had happened. Now, this, of course, happened just before 9 a.m. 4 people shot inside a residential home here on Casa Nova Drive. 1 person was pronounced dead inside the house. 3 other people were taken to hospital, one of them in critical condition. Now, area residents tell us that they did see a man in his 50s or 60s sitting upright and coherent, being loaded into an ambulance. Meanwhile, a woman who was a bit older than him was not moving. She was on a stretcher. She was taken to hospital as well. Now, as you mentioned, police are calling this a targeted shooting. Area residents say that this home is not a stranger to violence. Back in Christmas, in fact, they tell us the home was a target of arson, with 2 vehicles set ablaze in the driveway at around 2 a.m. We've seen video of the flames, and in it you can see a Tesla and what appears to be a truck completely engulfed. Here is what neighbors have to say about what happened.
They're clearly targeted. They're bringing all their issues here, and I think it's just making the community very unsafe.
Honestly, I didn't see anything. I heard the cop cars and the sirens going off, one after the other, one after the other. I stepped out because it was a lot. I never heard that before in this area. And I came out and I saw a lot of cars, an ambulance on the street. And I stepped out my back door, come to my laneway. I had a look and I saw a few people being taken into ambulance, and they were driven away to probably to the hospital.
It's really sad. I don't know exactly what happened. I just heard 4 people got shot. I don't know if they're okay or not.
Now, 2 schools were placed in hold and secures. As I mentioned earlier, those hold and secures have been lifted. In the meantime, police are asking anyone who may have seen anything at all to contact them, especially if they saw a vehicle leaving the area. At this point, they do not have a description of the suspect or suspects. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle and Nathan.
All right. Thank you, Janice. And here in the city, Toronto police are searching for a suspect accused of opening fire on an officer during a traffic stop. This all unfolded just after 3 in the morning. Provincial police say they spotted a white Lexus SUV on the westbound 401, and they followed it onto Allen Road before pulling it over north of Lawrence. The reason for the stop isn't known yet, but police say the driver then got out of the vehicle and shot a gun in the direction of the officer. A construction worker who was in the area shared what he witnessed.
All of a sudden, the driver of the Lexus SUV jumped out and started running westbound along Lawrence Avenue, and then the police yelled after him to stop running, and then he ran after him, and then I heard a single shot.
The officer wasn't hurt. Police say they scoured the area as they continue to try to find the suspect.
A suspect is in custody and another is outstanding in the shooting death of a teen in Scarborough last weekend. Police are looking for 29-year-old Leon Foster of Toronto on a charge of first-degree murder. He's described as 6 foot 2 inches tall with a medium build. Police say he should be considered armed and dangerous. 16-year-old Kaylin Ryder Downey died in hospital after he was shot at a plaza at Birchmount Road and Glendower Circuit south of Finch Saturday afternoon. Police say an altercation led to the shooting and 2 gunmen were involved. One fled on foot, the other in a vehicle. 45-year-old Kevin Lindo was arrested yesterday and is charged with first-degree murder.
And 4 people have been found dead in a rural home near Windsor. It happened in the community of Harrow, which is about 45 minutes south of Windsor. OPP officers were called to the home at around 1:30 yesterday afternoon, where they found 4 bodies. Investigators say there's no threat to public safety. Police are expected to release more information later this afternoon. Still ahead, it's another must-win situation for the Edmonton Oilers, hosting the Florida Panthers in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight. We tee up the game coming up a little later in the newscast.
But first, let's take a live look outside this hour. It is Friday in the city, and the heat wave is over for the GTA at least, and we will likely see some showers today. That doesn't mean it's cool out there by any means. There's still heat, there's still humidity. Jessica Smith is here with the specifics. Hey, Jess.
Hey, it is still very hot outside. Don't get it twisted, but we are at least out of heat warning criteria, so it's a little bit of relief, but it's still very muggy out there. We're watching for a line of showers making their way through parts of central and northern Ontario to start the day. For us, it comes later on into the afternoon. There was a ton of rain yesterday when it did come through for the city right around Pearson, about 50 millimeters, 54 through the island, and it came down fast and furious, and then it moved on. Still holding on to some heat warnings from Windsor all the way towards kind of the Hamilton area, but for the GTA, we are done for now. But Michelle is right, it is still really hot. We're still at 23. It feels like 31, and we're not really seeing a ton of relief in the forecast coming up this weekend, but we remain out of heat warning criteria. Coming up, a full look at your long-range forecast. Right now, back to Michelle and Nathan.
All right, thank you, Jess. The westbound 401 express lanes are open through Scarborough after a serious crash involving several vehicles, including 2 transport trucks. The trucks collided and caught fire just after 10:30 last night in the westbound express lanes at Nielsen. One person was taken to hospital with serious injuries, while 2 others have minor injuries. The crash caused damage to the highway, requiring emergency repairs.
What we do know is we at least know the chain of events that led to the 7-car pileup. There was a tractor trailer that rear-ended another tractor trailer that then caused that second tractor trailer to rear end a van. The driver of the first tractor trailer was trapped for an extended period of time, but was eventually extricated by fire and taken to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
All lanes finally reopened at around 7 o'clock in the morning.
Toronto police announced the results of a major effort to crack down on auto thefts in the city.
Police say Project Poacher was an investigation into a crime ring responsible for re-vinning several cars. CTV's Mike Walker was at the announcement and brings us the details. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Nathan, Michelle, police say they have seized more than 100 stolen vehicles. They say the suspects conspired with a former Service Ontario employee to create new VIN numbers and bogus registrations for the stolen vehicles before reselling them across the GTA.
The major crime unit identifying more than 100 stolen luxury vehicles worth millions in a major auto theft ring. Police say suspects would re-VIN the stolen vehicles before selling them to unsuspecting buyers across the GTA.
Their work has led to 4 arrests, 28 charges laid, and over 100 stolen vehicles linked to the accused, worth approximately $9.5 million.
The 5-month investigation, dubbed Project Poacher, started back in January. Investigators allege the suspects conspired with a former Service Ontario employee who created fake registrations to make the vehicles appear legitimate, often taking VIN numbers from vehicles that were previously stolen.
These were taken from vehicles that had been legitimately exported out of Canada. So we're no longer within the Canadian market. The purpose of re-VINning is essentially to create a domestic market for stolen vehicles. So rather than exporting them out internationally, now these vehicles can be sold for value within the province or country.
Investigators say they were led to an arrest of the Service Ontario employee in a separate investigation last year dubbed Project Safari that included trafficking in vehicle and driver information, and were then able to identify the suspects and recover some of the stolen vehicles.
When reviewing documents seized from Service Ontario, we came across certain patterns and names that led us towards this group of individuals.
In this case, police say they have so far recovered 21 luxury vehicles. Some of the VIN numbers were registered to people who didn't exist or were deceased.
Now, police say the value of the 21 luxury vehicles is approximately $1.8 million. Investigators say there are no outstanding suspects. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Mike. Today is National Indigenous Peoples Day. Community members and leaders gathered in Nathan Phillips Square for the annual sunrise ceremony. The ceremony is an Anishinaabe tradition that pays tribute to Indigenous traditions, cultures, and beliefs. It also includes a spirit cleansing with sage and a pipe ritual with tobacco.
It's inspirational to be at this sunrise ceremony so that Indigenous people can remind us to take good care of each other, to share what we have, not to take what we don't need, and to care for the earth so that we can continue to walk the good way.
Ceremony leaders commented it doesn't seem like National Indigenous Peoples Day is being recognized by Canadian society at large.
But where are we other than, in our regalia conducting ceremony? I want to see that. I see lots of other cultural celebrations and events being celebrated and highlighted, but where are we in this?
This day was created back in 2017 after decades of calls to celebrate the contributions and history of Indigenous peoples.
The Prime Minister commemorated National Indigenous Peoples Day in Nova Scotia this morning. Justin Trudeau attended an event on unceded Mi'kmaq territory in Cape Breton. The Prime Minister was also scheduled to participate in a trail walk and storytelling session. He has said the cultures, languages, and knowledge of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples have been the caretakers of Canada's lands and waters since time immemorial. And the teachings and contributions have helped shape the Canada we know today.
A judge is expected to rule on U of T's application for an injunction to clear a pro-Palestinian encampment within a week. Lawyers for the protesters presented their case yesterday. The university turned to the courts late last month after protesters ignored its deadline to dismantle the encampment in King's College Circle. They argued the injunction would effectively prevent the group from engaging in other forms of protest on or near campus. They say the university's response to the protest is highly disproportionate. Both sides have also been meeting to try to negotiate an agreement outside of the court process.
Staff and students at York University are speaking out about what they say is a pattern of discrimination from campus administrators.
They say it's an issue that has existed for some time, and they're calling on the school's president and leadership team to resign. CTV's Vaughan Morris has the details.
Hey, 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 hey. Harsh words for those leading one of the country's biggest universities.
York University's administration is racist.
The allegation of discrimination coming from some York University faculty, staff, and students.
As a Palestinian student on this campus, I can tell you that this university has made me feel extremely unsafe.
A feeling shared by this professor who started work at York October 6th.
And boy, can I tell you, as soon as I got here, I said, wow, this is a lot more racist than the United States.
Experiencing anti-black racism in a way she hadn't, teaching in Georgia and Florida.
For the first time in my life, by colleagues, I've been referred to as uncivilized for saying we should condemn anti-Palestinian racism.
While students and faculty allege racism has been a problem for years, they say hostility towards pro-Palestinian voices has been growing.
Police have been called to campus to disrupt classrooms where the discussion about the ongoing genocide were discussed. They have sent security to police pro-Palestinian clubs.
There's frustration and hurt that police were called to clear an encampment here in early June.
The message was clear: we don't care about you or what you have to say.
Students say they were given little notice, surprised at the intensity of the moves by York and police.
We were chased by the police across campus, even down the TTC subway escalator. They gave us no time to think or make sure that everyone was okay.
CUPE says 2 members working on the CCTV system were targeted by their bosses that day.
2 people who have spotless work records were singled out for unfair treatment simply because they're Muslim.
York University categorically denies the claim. CUPE has filed a grievance. Hey, hey, ho, ho, fraudulence has got to go. This group wants the president of York University and the rest of the administrative team to resign.
We're not interested in a repair of the relationship with the administration. We're interested in disclosure. We're interested in divestment. We're interested in a removal of police violence.
A deputy spokesperson for York says the encampment was untenable because it infringed on community space, health, and safety, but also that the university is committed to creating a respectful and inclusive environment where everyone feels safe. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
Ontario's electricity system operator says the province should have enough power for this year and next, but may need to import electricity during extreme weather. The independent electricity system operator says during extreme heat, the province needs to import up to 2,000 megawatts of power from other jurisdictions, particularly in August and next summer. Electricity demand is due to increase by 1% this year and nearly 3% next year. The higher demand partly comes from an expected increase in economic activity and large industrial projects.
We're getting a troubling new snapshot of just how unaffordable Canada has become for renters.
And that includes how many people are spending more than half their paycheck just to keep a roof over their heads. CTV's Andrew Johnson has the story.
The dream of home ownership isn't dead, but it's certainly out of reach for many Canadians. And renting right now isn't much easier. Rent prices have skyrocketed as the country struggles through a post-pandemic housing crisis experts say is also fueled by immigration. It's leaving many renters paying more than they can afford.
It's easy $2,400-$2,500 for a two-bedroom, and that's if you can find one.
According to a new survey from Royal LePage, the financial reality of putting a roof over your head is particularly bleak in BC. 27% of renters in Vancouver are spending more than half of their net income on paying the rent. In Toronto, 19% are forking over more than 50% of their paycheck. 1 in 10 Montrealers are in that position. The national average is 16%.
Home prices have maybe come down a bit, but interest rates have risen so much that mortgage payments are much higher than they were. As a result, the most affluent renters are stuck renting, not moving into buying, and that makes the pool of renters more able to pay high rents.
As for that traditional dream of one day owning a home, for most renters, that's not happening anytime soon. The survey reports 27% of renters in Canada do plan to buy a property in the next 2 years, but 69% said they had no such plans. Just over half cited insufficient income as a reason for their decision.
You have a lot of renters who really want to get into ownership, but until either rates come down and or prices fall, it's going to be a while.
Younger renters apparently aren't giving up. The survey shows the people who have the biggest intent to move into the buying market are middle millennials, people in their 30s, who may also be ready to start a family. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
With the use of artificial intelligence on the rise, many employers are looking at how to use the technology, and the federal government is no exception.
A small robot will be roaming some federal office buildings, but some public service don't like the idea. CTV's Natalie Van Roy joins us with all the details.
Verbrick's endpoints are at the forefront.
Federal workers have seen this robot roaming around the workplace.
Members find it intrusive, quite demoralizing, because they have a robot that's, first of all, in their work area, that's doing the work that they are more than capable of doing. And the robot can be a certain health and safety and environment issue, because if you don't see the robot, you can easily trip over them.
The device is created by a company called Global DWS. The owner says they focus on workplace health and safety.
It's been very helpful in identifying and pointing out any readings from temperature, humidity, and air quality, and different indoor air gases.
Yeah, so there's a robot in the PDP-4, which is...
But the robot has a camera, and the union is concerned about surveillance of employees. The company says it doesn't store images and can't identify people. It was used in at least 3 federal office buildings during the month of March. But with the 3-day return to the office mandate only months away, there's concerns that the robot will be used again.
It's noticeable. There's a robot strolling around amongst the cubicles, and it can be quite distracting for certain of our members, and again, demoralizing, knowing that there's a robot possibly checking in under attendance.
The federal government says the devices do not recognize individuals and do not have any ability to spy or track employees in the workplace. It's not clear whether this robot will be expanded to other workplaces.
Anytime you have robotics or any kind of instruments, you have to look under the hood. What exactly is being collected in terms of the information that is being gathered? How is it being used? Is it disclosed to any unauthorized third parties?
Natalie Van Roy, CTV News.
Switching gears, let's go overseas now. In the Gaza Strip, Israeli forces pounded Rafah as well as other areas across the territory today. Palestinian health officials said at least 32 Palestinians were killed. The World Health Organization warned today scorching heat in the Gaza Strip could worsen health problems for displaced Palestinians. The World Food Program has warned a massive public health crisis is looming due to the lack of clean water, food, and medical supplies, and the heat can contribute to a rise in diseases. There can be water contamination, food spoilage, as well as insects, dehydration, and heat stroke.
Canada is imposing more sanctions related to the worsening violence in Haiti. Global Affairs Canada is penalizing 3 gang leaders it says have undermined the peace, security, and stability of Haiti. A United Nations report this week said surging gang activity has displaced more than 500,000 people since March alone. Ottawa has sanctioned 31 Haitian citizens to date, barring them from having any economic dealings with Canadians.
The Edmonton Oilers are in another must-win situation tonight as they host the Florida Panthers in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final.
This has always been part of the plan for our group to be in a position like this, playing in big games at home, in big moments.
After falling behind 3-0, Edmonton has clawed their way back, winning the next 2 games to now bring them within striking distance of tying the best-of-7 series. If they manage another win tonight, the deciding Game 7 will go in Florida on Monday. And CTV's Scott Hurst joins us live with more ahead of the game. Scott, definitely the momentum has shifted. Where do things stand going into the big game tonight?
Good afternoon, Michelle. Well, it is all on the line tonight for the Edmonton Oilers after coming back from 3-0 in the series, now to push it to a Game 6, and as Connor McDavid said, drag them back to Alberta. So it is going to go tonight, and of course, the city, the arena will be buzzing, and Oilers fans from coast to coast are definitely excited. I don't know about you, Michelle, but I've started to see a lot of Oilers jerseys here in Maple Leaf country as well, so you can see Oilers fans from coast to coast and around the world looking forward to keeping this series alive. And as you said, momentum could be in their favor after winning the last 2 games and now having home ice tonight to potentially get it to a Game 7. So we'll have to see how it goes tonight. But we can tell you, of course, as you've been watching, and a lot of people have been watching from coast to coast, Connor McDavid has been brilliant the last 2 games to really drag the team back into it. The goalie has been solid enough to keep them into it. So they're back in the series. And, of course, after those first 3 games, it didn't look like it was going to be this case. It looked like it was going to be over in 4 straight or 5 games. But here we are talking about Game 6. And as you said, if they can win tonight, they'll have a chance at Game 7 for all the marbles and to hoist the Stanley Cup, and that'll be Monday night in Florida, as you said.
Sure. It'd be nice to have a Canadian team hoisting the Stanley Cup once again. What's the situation with tickets? I imagine they're in high demand.
Demand is through the roof, of course, for tickets. I can tell you for Games 3 and 4, the earlier Edmonton home games, as soon as those tickets went on sale, they were gone within just a few minutes. And, of course, they've also had viewing parties at the arena, even when the games have been on the road in Florida. There's been viewing parties outside in the revamped Ice District of Edmonton. And I did take a quick scan of the prices for tickets tonight, Michelle, and for a single ticket just to get in the door, you'll be hard to find anything less than $1,500, and that is nowhere near the ice.
Oh, wow. Well, they're a lot less than Taylor Swift tickets, if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about this fan who predicted all the way back in 2018 the Oilers would win the Cup in 2024?
Yeah, we spoke to him just a short time ago, and he had a message in his yearbook back in 2018. Then he was living in Saskatoon. He was a high school senior in 2018, and he couldn't decide what to write in his yearbook. And so he picked his favorite team, and he said he picked a random year for them to win the Stanley Cup. So what he wrote was, Edmonton Oilers 2024, watch it happen. Here's what he had to say about all the hype he's been getting as a photo of his yearbook page is going viral.
More than I expected and probably a little bit more than I wanted. So yes, NHL, TSN official, lots of interviews like this. It's actually been quite insane, but it's been such a fun ride. It really has been.
Well, Michelle, he said watch it happen way back in 2018, and now a lot of people are watching it happen, and it could happen, as we said. The Oilers, maybe they have the momentum tonight in Game 6, and if they can win tonight, force that all-important Game 7.
Oh, well, you know, a lot that we write in our yearbooks doesn't come true, so it would be nice, certainly, if he was right. CTV's Scott Hurst live for us today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Michelle.
Well, the Prince of Wales turned 42 today. To celebrate, his family released a new photo. Kate shared this image of her husband, William, and their 3 kids at a beach jumping midair. The palace says it was taken by Kate in Norfolk last month. She posted it on social media with the caption, "Happy birthday, Papa. We all love you so much."
Well, summer is underway, and to mark the occasion, people in the UK were up early to watch the first summer sunrise. They gathered at the ancient stone circle of Stonehenge to mark the summer solstice. It occurs for Earth's upper half when the northern hemisphere is tilted most closely towards the sun. This also marks the longest day and the shortest night of the year. Stonehenge was built on a plain in southern England in stages starting 5,000 years ago. Jess.
We love the summer solstice, and maybe you'll love the slightly cooler day that we have. Still hot out there, still humid, but we are out of heat warning criteria. The consistent thing, though, from yesterday is the active weather. We're still watching for the chance of rain and the risk of thunderstorms off and on throughout the afternoon, so just keep the umbrella handy if you're going to spend some time outside. An easterly wind becoming southeasterly later, also helping to kind of warm things up. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast as we still deal with humidex values into the mid-30s as we wrap up the week.
All right, to the forecast. So it's Friday, lots going on. Now, forgive me, did I hear you say the heat wave's over? Was that right?
Well, it is, technically. She was saying that, yeah.
But we're just out of the criteria.
It's nice when we don't have a heat alert. I think that's really nice. I think last weekend was so, don't you remember? All the way back last weekend.
Yeah.
But it was quite sunny. This weekend's a bit of a shift in terms of we got a lot of cloud cover and some rain.
We have had so many rainy weekends. Last weekend I really tried to hold on to because it was the only non-rainy weekend we've had for quite some time, and it's the last one we're going to have at least for this weekend. We are stepping into our Saturday and Sunday, still hot but not heat warning hot, but there is rain on the way. It remains very unsettled throughout the entire weekend, so just keep the rain gear handy. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. We saw that fast and furious rain come through last night right around 7:30 for the GTA. It pushed its way out. Behind it, a little bit of relief, but not much. Right now, still holding on to a little cloud cover out there, but we will see a decent amount of sunshine as we step in towards the afternoon before it starts to rain again. We'll take a look at our temperature map. It is still pretty warm out there. We're at 24, but it still feels into the 30s, and we're kind of in the same boat right across southern Ontario and down towards Windsor. They're still kind of in that heat warning criteria for now. To the north, it is a little warmer as well. We're still dealing with the heat, but we just don't match that criteria to prompt those alerts. As we head into the afternoon, we should be around 25 for this time of year, so we're not far off from the seasonal mark, but it will still feel like 36, and we're watching for pop-up showers kind of late afternoon and then again into the early evening. So we have these kind of windows of rain. Temperature-wise, again, still in the 30s anywhere southwest of Waterloo, anywhere kind of east of the city, we're in that mid-20 range, so we're closer to where we should be for this time of year before the humidex, and you factor that in. Tonight, a warm one as well. We should be closer to 15. We're really not there yet. We're still at 20, feeling like 26. And we are watching for some pretty heavy showers north of us, and we are going to experience some of that in southern Ontario. In towards the bulk of our day, again, it is very patchy in nature as a couple of lows south of us push their way across, and then we see another round of it on the way as we head into the weekend. So this band of showers really doesn't break up all that much throughout your Friday evening, your Saturday, and your Sunday. Right now, through Owen Sound, Huntsville to Bancroft, they're looking at the majority of the rain. For the GTA, it's kind of around 3:30. We see a wave of it come through, so right in time to pick up some of the kids from school if it's their last day. And then as we head into the evening, we're watching for a few spotty showers. Kicking off the day tomorrow, not bad. A wave of rain late morning. Again, that band is really going to sit through northern Ontario. Central Ontario, we get another pop-up shower into the afternoon, and then it's just off and on. Really heavy, though, as we get through the overnight, so those cracks of thunder might wake you up Saturday night into our Sunday morning. Temperature-wise, we are closer to seasonal, but we're not quite there throughout your weekend. We are holding on to lows in the 20s until we get in towards our Sunday night. Again, pretty active as we head throughout Saturday night into Sunday morning. Some sunshine does return as we head in towards next week, and it is quite beautiful. We just have to get through the weekend first. Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jess. It may sound like the stuff out of movies, but an asteroid hurtling toward Earth is something real-life scientists are preparing for at NASA.
They're refining the plan because in a few short years, a space rock could come quite close. Here's CTV's Joy Malvin.
In about 5.5 years, a massive asteroid named Apophis, after the Egyptian god of chaos, will pass so close to the Earth, we'll be able to see it in the sky. And that has NASA scientists on high alert.
We want to be able to get a spacecraft out there weeks to months to get a look at Apophis before that close encounter with the Earth.
Scientists working with global partners carried out asteroid threat exercises back in April to figure out if a potential planet killer is headed our way and how the world would cooperate to safeguard Earth.
Yeah, we're going to need more than Bruce Willis. We're going to need actual real scientists. And frankly, with every year and every experiment, especially the double asteroid redirect test, which was so successful, I really believe that astronauts or the space scientists are figuring this stuff out.
Press it!
Unlike in the movies, NASA has been working on tools and technology to tackle such a threat and coordinate an international disaster response. 2 years ago, the double asteroid redirection test, known as the DART spacecraft, smashed into an asteroid to knock a massive space rock off its gravitational course. And it worked.
All right.
That's a pretty big deal for all of us on Earth. NASA hopes to use the same tested technique so we don't go the way of the dinosaurs, wiped out by a massive meteor millions of years ago.
Apophis is the closest thing we know about to an asteroid that could really give us a bad day. This thing would wipe out a city, no problem. But fortunately, just luck, it's not going to hit us. It's just going to come close.
NEO surveyor mission.
NASA says it's developing a new telescope to help find and identify asteroids as part of its planetary defense mission on track for 2027. So we'll know what's coming. Joy Malvin, CTV News, Washington.
Still ahead, a competitive swimmer is raising awareness about the need for vision research with a special swim today. What she hopes to achieve coming up. A special swim took place this morning at Cherry Beach to raise awareness for an upcoming charity event.
Hold it a little tighter. Where are you?
Fighting Blindness Canada CEO Jennifer Jones took to the water for a 1-kilometer swim without any visual cues. The former competitive swimmer was joined by a guide who helped her carry out the swim safely. This comes ahead of the charity's Move for Sight event this weekend.
It's, I think, a humbling experience, and I'm grateful for it. I don't want to do it every day, but I think it's a good touch point on what a lot of people have to face every day. And they don't necessarily have a guide, and they may not be in familiar territory either.
The Move for Sight takes place across Canada and here in Toronto on Sunday. And you can find more details at moveforsight.ca.
An estimated 5 million Canadians suffer from some degree of irritable bowel syndrome.
But avoiding certain food triggers can go a long way to help minimize the symptoms. Our health reporter Pauline Chan has the story.
Ever since he could remember, Steve Singer has always had digestive problems.
So I'm lactose intolerant, I'm gluten intolerant, but I'm not celiac. And so when you start talking to GIs and my doctors, it was clear that, okay, you've definitely got IBS.
Today, he's the head of Fody Foods, a company that specializes in foods that won't trigger irritable bowel syndrome.
The trigger foods that I experienced were definitely garlic, onion, lactose was a big one for me too.
Registered dietitian Amanda Natividad-Lee says food tolerances can be very different from person to person, but generally the foods to avoid are known as FODMAP.
So it's fermentable, oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. Fermentable carbohydrates. So carbs that can basically, for many people, will end up kind of bypassing the small intestine, entering the large intestine and fermenting there, because we have a lot of gut bacteria that reside there, and that produces a lot of gas, which can then lead to bloating, distension, cramping, diarrhea.
Canada has one of the highest rates of IBS in the world, 18% of the population compared to the global average of 11%.
And while food is certainly the first line of defense in IBS, there are other therapies that can also be of help.
Things like getting enough exercise, stress management, so things like mindfulness and meditation. There are medications, probiotics that can help, as well as gut-directed hypnotherapy, because there is a huge connection between the mind and the gut when it comes to IBS.
And Singer says awareness is the first step to helping IBS sufferers eat well and live well. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Several days of high temperatures have renewed questions over air conditioning in public schools and whether it's too hot to learn in some classrooms. The Toronto District School Board says out of its 582 schools, only 177 have central air conditioning that extends to classrooms. The rest have cooling centers in areas like gyms and libraries that are equipped with AC. Some teachers say soaring temperatures make it hard to work and difficult for students to focus. The province says managing heat protocols falls to the school boards. The TDSB says installing central AC is not financially possible as it faces a whopping $4.2 billion repair backlog.
Queen has become the latest legendary band to sell off the rights to its music. We will rock you. The Queen catalog is being acquired by Sony for the equivalent of $1.7 billion. The deal doesn't include revenue from live shows, as founding members Brian May and Roger Taylor still actively tour with singer Adam Lambert. Queen's music catalog is considered one of the most valuable of the rock era, with hits like Bohemian Rhapsody, We Are the Champions, and of course, We Will Rock You. And fans of the Tragically Hip will get to hear some new music from the band later this year. A number of unreleased songs will be included on a new deluxe box set of their album, Up to Here. It originally released in 1989 and will have a special re-release in November.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, shares in chipmaker NVIDIA came under pressure today. The reason for the drop in the stock and the rest of your business headlines after the break. Shares dropped for chipmaker NVIDIA today, despite being up overall this year.
BNN Bloomberg's Andrew Bell has all the details.
Hello there. Here are your business headlines. Shares in NVIDIA, the maker of chips for artificial intelligence, came under pressure again today, dropping 2%. But the investor darling was still up almost 160% this year. The drop in the shares this week may be partially tied to the expiry of stock market options today in a so-called triple witching session. Bloomberg says the federal government is preparing potential new tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles to align Canada with actions taken by the US and European Union. The government still has to make final decisions, but is likely to announce public consultations on levies, according to officials. And finally, shares in Smith & Wesson dropped 12% after the gun maker said sales in its current quarter will decline around 10%. As consumers struggle with inflation. But CEO Mark Smith said the company expects a boost in the second half of the year, quote, as presidential election campaign activity ramps up. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
You might see signs for them across the GTA. Physics make that psychics and astrologers offering their services to help solve personal and financial problems.
While some may offer comfort to believers, there have also been cases of fraudulent activity you need to be aware of. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
And did any of the things that he said would happen come true?
Nothing has happened.
Marie Jean asked us not to reveal her identity because she's embarrassed to have given away her entire life savings. Last October, she lost her home and was depressed. She saw a sign for a psychic that said from divorce to depression, any problem solved within 24 hours. But at their first meeting, she was given bad news.
He said, well, if you don't do what I tell you, your life could be in danger and your sons could lose their lives.
The psychic told her to get rid of evil spirits would cost her $10,000.
We have to deal with this black magic right away, or else something bad is going to happen.
But after Marie Jean paid that money, he said he needed more because the evil spirits were too strong. She gave him a total of $46,000 and was told to get jars from a dollar store so they could be captured in a ritual.
They're going to have to be caught in these jars and captured and taken to Niagara Falls to be killed.
After that, she was told her life would be wonderful and this piece of foil in a frame would protect her.
I'm going to be the recipient of the biggest lotto, biggest jackpot. I'm going to have a home by the lake.
But then she was told the evil spirits came back and it would cost another $20,000. At that point, she felt duped. Marie Jean says it was this business in Scarborough on Kingston Road near Morningside Avenue where she gave a man named Mahadev the money. When we went to the door, it was locked, so we called the number.
She gave you $46,000 to get rid of some evil spirits. Your door is locked, but we'd love to come in and talk to you if we can.
How do you feel about this?
I feel terrible. I feel embarrassed and disgusted.
Later in a call to CTV News, a man who identified himself as Mahadev claimed he had no idea who Marie Jean was and said he never took her money.
First of all, about whom you're talking, I don't understand. And who is that lady, I don't know.
But days later, the psychic returned all $46,000. After 6 months of trying, Marie Jean was relieved to get her money back.
Thank you. I'm so happy. If it was not for your intervention, I would not have been given back that money. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat Foran. Thank you, CTV. Thank you.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
To sports, Canada's men's soccer team was in tough during its Copa America debut last night, but they performed well considering they had to face the world champions. Canada squared off against Argentina, which is also the reigning Copa champion. Canada played a strong first half, managing to keep the game scoreless until Lionel Messi set up the first of 2 goals on the night in the 49th minute. Argentina won 2-0. Canada plays again Tuesday at 5 p.m. against Peru.
Meanwhile, it's party time in Boston. A huge crowd turned out for a victory parade today following the Celtics' record 18th NBA championship. Boston won the Larry O'Brien Trophy Monday night with a 106-88 win over the Dallas Mavericks. It was the 13th championship won this century by one of the city's big 4 professional sports franchises.
If you're planning to take transit this weekend, there's several major closures and changes to warn you about. The TTC says trains will not run on Line 1 between St. Clair and College all Saturday and Sunday due to planned track work. Regular train service will continue from College Station South and on the opposite side of Line 1. On Line 2, trains will skip Pape Station all weekend due to Ontario line construction. Shuttle buses will be running in the affected areas.
And starting Sunday, the TTC will replace the Spadina streetcar with bus service through to the end of the year. The transit agency says upgrades will be carried out on the streetcar's electrical system and tracks, and the tracks will be repaired. As drivers brace for buses to join them in already busy lanes, the TTC is also increasing streetcar service along Harbourfront to help offer alternative routes.
And starting Sunday as well, commuters in Midtown will once again see streetcars running along St. Clair. The east-west route has been served by buses since last September, while repairs and upgrades were done to the streetcar infrastructure. The 512 St. Clair will run from St. Clair Station to Guns Loop, but it'll skip St. Clair West while work continues there.
And there will be less GO train service on the GO Trains Lakeshore West line this weekend. As of tonight, trains will only run hourly between Union and Oakville stations to allow for critical track work. Trains won't stop at all at Appleby and Bronte stations, and they'll be replaced by bus service between Oakville and West Harbour. A rookie TTC streetcar driver has been recognized for saving a woman's life. On May 31st, Michelle Marie Beer was on a Spadina streetcar when she got dizzy and she started to shake. She tried to get off, but the driver, Monique Blake, insisted she stay and called for help. Well, it turns out Beer had a brain tumor and ended up in hospital undergoing life-saving surgery.
She saw me when a lot of people hadn't seen what I was going through. Even myself didn't. I was blowing it off as something else. And my biggest thing that night was, don't make me be the announcement. I can't be the attention TTC passengers.
It really shocked me that she was more concerned about being an inconvenience than actually just asking for help. And I told this to her, like when I was in training, they always say to us, look out for your, for your customers. If you see someone in need, if you see somebody who needs help, help. So for me, it was never, oh, this person's like inconveniencing or anything. No, they need help. So we just call for help.
After the incident, Beer got in touch with Blake to thank her, crediting her with saving her life. Blake has actually only been a TTC operator for 10 months, and she just finished her probation last month.
Great job. All right, so first weekend of summer is coming. How hot is it going to be?
We're about 3 or 4 degrees above the seasonal mark, so we're not in the heat warning criteria, but it's still really muggy. But this weekend comes with a chance of some pretty active weather. So depending on where you're going this weekend, it is going to be a little busy out there, especially if you're heading up towards cottage country. But in the GTA, spotty showers along with the risk of thunderstorms carries us through our afternoon and really right throughout our entire weekend. Heavier showers to the north right now, but we are expecting a few pop-ups here and there through the rest of our day. Temperature-wise, we're only, I say only at 24 because it was in the 30s yesterday, but it still feels like 32 and we're holding on to a ton of heat still. Stepping in towards your weekend, the first full weekend of the summer season, it is hot. We're at 28 degrees apiece, but it is unsettled. Fear not though, heading in towards next week, we're looking at more seasonal-ish weather and along with a little more sunshine. So something to look forward to. Even though there's a little rain this weekend, it stays nice and warm.
Good to hear. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a wonderful afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Take care.